Hi. If you were anything like me when you were young and you were working, a good many of your friends, possibly your closest friends, were workmates, people that you work with in the daytime and who you possibly associated with in the evening and even on weekends. And what did you do? You talked shop. You might take out, your wife might go out with you and you might meet with your friends and their wives, but what would the men be doing? Talking shop. I had some very interesting jobs in my life, and each time I would associate with my friends, and what would we do? We'd be talking about work. We'd be talking about what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it, and our wives would be bored silly. And eventually they would be talking among themselves about the things which interested them. Because people do that. We talk and listen to people who are like ourselves. Now, as we move through from job to job, our friends change, our work friends change, and the conversation changes. For example, when I was in the Navy, it was all Navy talk. When I was in civil aviation, in air ground, like air traffic control type jobs, it was all of that sort of stuff. When I was a truck driver, which I did for a while, we talked about trucks and driving, the various merits and so forth. And even when I worked for the police force as a civilian, it was all about that. We talked about that. What happens when you retire? Most of those friends drop away. And it doesn't matter what you were doing at that particular time. When you're a civilian, mixing with new people altogether, and if you try to talk shop about the things that you used to do, and unless those people had common backgrounds to you, well, where are you? You're out of conversation. Now, retirement is not simply a place to fill in time. Not simply a place to fill in time. Sure, when you retire, there will be things to do around the house, but you will have, on average, they say, about 62 hours extra per week that you didn't have when you were working and commuting to work. 62 hours a week. What are you going to do with that time? You've already established your normal routines while you were working. For example, watching television in the evening from a certain time before you go to bed. But you've still got those 62 hours. What are you going to do with them? This is the time to do the things that you really want to do. Now, when you retire, you've heard of this thing called the bucket list. Don't let the bucket grow so big that it becomes a dumpster. Because what you get when you retire, money-wise, most often, not always, but for most people, they've never been as well off in their life as the time they walk out of paid work for the last time. For example, you might pick up your superannuation, all your back pay, all your accumulated leave, all your savings are in the bank. Possibly you've paid off your house if you're lucky. And I hope you have by the time you retire. And the temptation is to say, wow, look at that. We can now do what we want to do, love. Off we'll go. We'll go on a 6 months holiday and we'll do this and we'll buy a caravan and we'll tow the... And before you know it, in theory at least, and hopefully not in practice, half their money that you've taken, or half the money that you've taken out in retirement, is gone within the first 12 months. And desperation sets in. Oh, gee. So the point is, be careful of that bucket list. My advice for the average person, and I went out with a pretty average sort of payoff when I left, my financial advisor said to me, Tom, don't go on a big holiday and spend all your money. Don't go out and buy a big luxury car. And with what you've got left, maybe we can pan it out for a few years, maybe until you die. He was probably expecting me to fall off the peg at the average age, which is about 81, 82, and here I am 89. And he's still managed to be able to keep me going with a little bit of super. But I am on the full old age pension and have been since I retired. So really, my wife and I live on our old age pensions plus a tiny bit, and I mean tiny, real tiny, little tiny bit of money that comes in every now and again, which sort of tops it up so we can pay off the bigger bills. But enough on that, enough on the financial side. Point I'm saying is we don't retire simply to fill in our days. This is the time we have the opportunities to do all of those things we possibly never had the opportunity to do when we were working full time. Now, if you happen to have had a job where you've travelled widely when you were working, then the desire to travel widely when you retire probably won't be there. I didn't travel widely, but I did travel. And so in retirement, no long trips to Europe from Australia. Been to the Far East a couple of times, but that's about it. So in other words, what am I saying? Just don't blow all your cash in the first couple of years and then find yourself on Desperation Street for the rest of the time. You've got to eke that money out. This is why you need to go to a financial advisor, somebody fully qualified who will advise you the best things to do in the time, in the years that you have left. So what will you do in that time that's left? Make new friends. You'll have to form a new family of friends around you. If you've been in, say, a club like Rotary, Lions, or I'm in Toastmasters, and you've had those friends for years, keep them. Keep going to the meetings. Keep those old friendships going. Making new friends, make new friends. Get out and do it. The other thing that's very apparent, when you retire, the average person that you meet, they don't care whether you were the CEO of Broken Hill Proprietary Limited or whether you were the janitor of some public school. You're just one of them now. So get off your high horse and stop telling them about your glory days. Tell them about your past, the fun things, yeah, but don't parade what you used to be. They're not interested. Well, I hope you got something out of this video. I was just thinking virtually off the top of my head, as I usually do with these, when an idea comes, and that idea was, don't make retirement just a way of filling in the years, of filling in the time. Do something. Do something you've really always wanted to do. And if you can, do it for someone else besides yourself. Provide a service. It makes you feel good and it makes you live longer.